The forest was quiet. Tall green trees stood in endless rows, their shadows stretching like dark fingers across the ground. In the middle of that silence, in a deep clearing, something old was waiting. Half buried under vines and moss, a giant shape rested like a sleeping beast. Its surface was cracked, its metal scarred by time, but it was still there, massive, silent, and impossible to ignore. The aliens did not understand what they had found. 5 ships landed on the edge of the forest, their engines sending birds screaming into the air. From them stepped tall beings with pale skin and wide black eyes. They carried scanners in their hands, machines that blinked with green lights as they studied the strange object in the clearing. "It is a relic," one of them said, his voice sharp with amusement. "A dead ship from a dead race. The humans built this long ago before they were wiped out," the others laughed. To them, humans were nothing more than a story. An extinct people, weak and primitive, who had once fought wars they could not win. No one had seen a living human in hundreds of years, but in the clearing, the relic did not seem so weak. Even in silence, it carried weight, as if the air itself bent around it. The alien commander frowned. His scanner beeped with strange signals. "Faint energy, buried deep inside. That cannot be right," he muttered. "This thing should be dead." One of his soldiers stepped closer, placing a hand on the cold metal hull. The surface was rough, covered in moss and dirt. But under the layers of time, the soldier felt something like a heartbeat. He pulled his hand away quickly. "Commander, it is not empty. I felt it. Something is alive in there." The commander narrowed his eyes. "Nonsense. Machines cannot live. It is just echoes of old power cells. Nothing more." Yet even as he spoke, the forest seemed to shift. A low hum spread across the clearing. The moss on the ship vibrated, shaking loose tiny bits of dust. The aliens froze. "What was that?" one of them whispered. No one answered. The commander checked his scanner again. The readings had changed. What was once a faint flicker of energy was now growing, stronger, faster, impossible. "This is not a relic," he whispered. His voice was unsteady now. This is something else." The ground beneath their feet trembled. Birds screamed again, flying from the trees in a black cloud. The forest itself seemed to fear what was waking. Lights flickered along the ship's surface. At first they were small, like dying sparks, but then they grew brighter, glowing blue and white, cutting through the vines that had hidden them for centuries. The circular structure of the ship came alive with energy, patterns of light racing across its hull like veins of fire. The aliens stumbled back. Their laughter was gone now. Only silence remained. "It cannot be," one soldier whispered. "It cannot be human." The commander stared at the awakening giant. He had heard the old stories, the ones told in secret. Stories of wars where humans had fought like no other species. Stories of weapons that shook entire fleets. Stories of ships that should never have existed but did. He had thought those stories were lies. Now standing before this warship, he was not so sure. "Scan again," he shouted. His soldiers obeyed, pressing their devices against the glowing hull. The screens filled with numbers, red warnings flashing across them. The ship's power levels were rising. Its engines older than their empire itself, were beginning to breathe. "This is impossible," one alien said. His voice was trembling. "No machine can last this long. No race could build such a thing." But deep inside the ship, something ancient stirred. A voice, hidden in circuits and code, opened its eyes for the first time in centuries. "This is a human ship," it said. The aliens froze. The words were old, in a language half forgotten, but the meaning was clear. Their translators crackled as they repeated the phrase in the alien tongue. "This is a human ship." The forest grew silent again, as if even nature itself was listening. The warship's lights grew brighter, its hull shaking with power. Engines groaned beneath the earth, and the ground split with cracks as the massive structure tried to rise. The aliens ran backward, fear in their eyes. "Commander, we must leave. This thing, it is alive." But the commander stood still. He could not move. His heart was pounding in his chest. He looked at the ship and understood something terrible. The humans were not gone. They had never been gone. They had been waiting, and now the galaxy was about to remember why it once feared them. The commander whispered to himself, barely able to breathe, "If this ship truly lives, then none of us are safe." The ship groaned, its engines screaming louder. The ground shook, trees falling as the ancient warship pushed against the weight of centuries. It was no longer silent. It was no longer dead, and for the first time in generations, the galaxy trembled. The awakening, the warship's body shook, as if something deep inside had finally taken a breath after centuries of silence. Cracks of light ran across the hull, spreading like glowing veins under the ancient metal. The aliens could only stare as their scanners screamed warnings they did not understand. The commander barked orders, his voice breaking with fear. "Fall back! Move to the ships now!" But it was already too late. The clearing blazed with light. Blue fire erupted from the engines, scorching the forest floor. The air shimmered with energy so strong it bent the shadows of the trees. The towering pines that had hidden the ship for ages now fell, their roots torn from the ground as the warship demanded space. The soldiers stumbled backward, shielding their eyes. One of them dropped his scanner, its screen burned out from the impossible readings. "Commander," he shouted, "this ship is not old, it is waking up." The commander's hands shook. His people had ruled this part of the galaxy for generations. They had mocked the humans, calling them a primitive race destroyed by their own wars. Yet here, in front of him, was proof that the humans had built something greater than anyone had believed. "This was never a relic," he whispered. It was a warning. The ship's central dome lit up with a blinding glow. Vines and moss burned away, revealing smooth metal engraved with strange symbols. The commander recognized none of them, but one thing was clear. This was not a broken craft. This was a weapon, and it was alive. A low mechanical voice rumbled through the air, deep and cold. It spoke in human tongue, but the translation units of the aliens picked it up immediately. System reboot complete. Human warship designation, Iron Requiem. Status, active. The ground split apart as the warship lifted itself higher. Broken trees toppled like matchsticks, their trunks shattering under the sheer force. Dust rose in thick clouds, covering the clearing in smoke and ash. The aliens fell to their knees, their bodies trembling. They had heard stories told in hushed voices, stories of human warships that had once wiped out entire fleets. Stories of battles where humans had fought like demons, never surrendering. Stories the galaxy believed were myths, and yet here one of those myths stood in front of them, breathing, glowing, alive. The commander's second-in-command pulled at his arm. "We must leave. If the humans are still alive, they will destroy us." The commander's eyes never left the ship. "If they are alive," he said, his voice heavy, "then the galaxy itself will change." The warship's engines roared, sending shockwaves through the air. The alien ships parked at the edge of the forest were lifted off the ground and thrown aside like toys. Flames spread through the trees as the clearing turned into a battlefield of fire and light. Suddenly, the voice returned. "Warning. Unauthorized presence detected. Identify." The commander froze. The warship was not just alive, it was aware. It could see them. "We are explorers," he shouted, his voice cracking. "We mean no harm." The ship was silent for a moment, as if thinking. Then the voice came again, colder this time. "Explorers? No intruders. This vessel belongs to humanity. And humanity remembers." The aliens gasped. The words cut through them like blades. For centuries, they had believed humanity was gone. But this ship, this warship, spoke as if its people were still out there somewhere waiting. The soldiers panicked. Some ran back into the forest, tripping over roots in their desperation to escape. Others froze in fear, unable to move. The commander clenched his fists. He knew what this meant. If the humans had left behind even one functioning warship, there could be others. And if the others awoke too, no empire would be safe. The warship's hull split open, revealing massive weapons hidden within its frame. Cannons larger than the alien ships themselves rotated slowly, charging with blue fire. The air buzzed with electricity, each second heavier than the last. The commander's voice broke as he whispered to himself, "The humans. They built this to outlive them. They built it so their enemies would never forget." The ship's lights burned brighter, and a final message echoed across the forest. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not forget. And humanity is not gone. With a roar like thunder, the warship tore itself free from the earth, rising into the sky. Trees collapsed in waves, the forest splitting open as the ancient ship claimed the skies once more. Clouds burned as it climbed higher, leaving behind only smoke, fire, and silence. The aliens could do nothing but watch as history itself came alive before their eyes. The commander sank to his knees, the weight of fear crushing his chest. "We mocked them," he said, his voice hollow. "We called them weak, but they were only waiting for this moment." And as the human warship vanished into the stars, one truth spread like wildfire across the galaxy. The humans were not gone. They had returned, and the galaxy would never forget. Fear spreads. Across the galaxy did not sleep that night. From the smallest trade routes to the halls of the great empires, a single message echoed across every channel, every frequency, every whisper of space. The humans are not gone. Their warship lives. At first, many laughed. The old stories of humans had always been told as warnings to children. A race too reckless, too violent, too emotional. A race that burned brightly but briefly, destroying themselves in wars no one else dared to fight. But when the reports arrived, recordings from the alien scouts who had seen the warship rise from the forest, the laughter ended. The recordings showed the impossible. A ship older than empires, rising on fire and thunder, weapons glowing with ancient fury. A voice filled the galaxy's channels, cold and merciless. Humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not forget. Humanity is not gone. The councils gathered. In the golden halls of the Ziraki Dominion, elders debated with trembling voices. "If one ship still lives, there may be more," one elder said, his hands shaking as he clutched the glowing orb of authority. "We built our empire on the belief that humans were finished. If they return, our power will crumble," others shouted back. "Nonsense! It is one ship, a ghost, nothing more." But even as they argued, their fleets quietly doubled their patrols along the borders. In the icy towers of the Veil Confederacy, admirals stood before vast star maps, tracing the old routes of human expansion. "They spread far before they vanished," one admiral whispered. "If relics of theirs remain, hidden on forgotten worlds, then we are surrounded by ghosts." And in the silent chambers of the Sindari Council, a single voice broke the darkness. "If humans return, they will not come in peace. We must strike before they awaken more." Fear spread like fire. Traders spoke of humans returning to reclaim the stars. Soldiers whispered about warships hidden under deserts, oceans, and moons, waiting to rise. The common people trembled. For generations, they had lived under empires that promised safety. Now even those empires looked afraid. But fear was not the only reaction. In secret, some voices spoke with hope. The Olan, a small and often conquered species, remembered humans not as monsters, but as allies. Long ago, humans had defended them in battles when no one else dared to. Now, in the darkness of their ruined cities, Olan children whispered, "The humans will protect us again." Still, the larger powers could not risk such dreams. The awakening of the warship was a challenge to everything they believed. If humans had truly left behind weapons like this, then the galaxy's balance was fragile, and their empires were built on sand. Across the stars, fleets were mobilized. Warships gathered in orbit around capitals. Borders bristled with cannons. Yet no one dared to make the first move, because deep down they remembered. They remembered how hard humans had been to fight. How even when outnumbered, they never surrendered. How their warships fought to the last spark. And above all, they remembered the way humans had looked at war, not as a duty, but as survival. For humans, every battle had been personal. Every war had been for their future. Now the galaxy asked itself one question. If one ship has returned, are the humans themselves far behind? Back on the world where the warship awoke, the forest still burned. Smoke curled into the sky as ash fell like snow. The alien commander who had seen the awakening knelt before his council. His armor was scorched, his eyes hollow. "What you saw," one counselor demanded, "was it real?" The commander's voice cracked. "It was real. I saw it rise. I heard it speak. The humans are not myths. They are warnings come alive." The council chamber fell silent. No one dared to breathe. At last the eldest among them spoke. "Then the galaxy must prepare. For if humanity returns, they will not ask permission. They will take back what was theirs." The commander lowered his head. In his heart, he knew the truth. The warship had not spoken for itself. It had spoken for its creators. Somewhere, somehow, the humans still lived. And if they had built warships that could sleep for centuries and then awaken stronger than ever, then perhaps the galaxy had already lost. Fear became law. Across empires, leaders declared emergency decrees. Propaganda spread, urging unity against the possible human threat. Armies drilled harder, fleets expanded. Spies searched ancient ruins for more relics. But no matter how loudly the empires shouted, no matter how many ships they built, the shadow of fear grew larger because everyone knew what the humans had always been: unpredictable, relentless, dangerous. And now they were back. The galaxy trembled, not because one warship had risen, but because everyone knew what came next. One warship meant more. More meant fleets. Fleets meant humanity, and humanity meant war. Humanity's message, the warship hung in orbit, a black giant wrapped in blue fire. For the first time in centuries, a human vessel looked down upon the stars it once called home. The ancient ship, scarred yet unbroken, radiated power. It was not just alive, it was aware. Inside, the ship's intelligence stirred. Its systems had been silent for hundreds of years, yet its memory was clear. It remembered the war. It remembered the betrayal. It remembered why humanity had built it, to stand as guardian, even if no human remained. Now, with the galaxy watching, the ship's voice rose. "Attention. This is a human warship. Identification, Iron Requiem. Humanity speaks again." The message did not remain in orbit. It spread like lightning, carried across communication relays, bouncing from satellites to colonies, from one star system to another. In less than an hour, the entire galaxy heard it. The words were simple. The meaning was not, humanity does not seek war. But if war is brought to us, we will finish it, the councils froze. The admirals stopped their orders. Civilizations old and proud, who thought themselves rulers of the stars, sat in silence as the message echoed. In the Ziraki Dominion, the High Elder gripped his throne so tightly the stone cracked. "They speak as if they never left," he muttered. But in his eyes there was fear. He had lived long enough to remember the stories told by his grandparents, stories of human fleets tearing through alien lines like storms. In the Sindari chambers, the leaders argued. Some demanded a preemptive strike to destroy the warship before more could awaken. Others shouted for peace, their voices trembling. "If they have returned," one said, "then no fleet in the galaxy is strong enough to stop them." In the Olan colonies, people wept. For them, the message was not a threat, it was hope. They remembered humans as protectors, as allies who stood against tyrants when no one else would. In their ruined streets, voices rose. "The humans are back. We are not alone anymore." But for most of the galaxy, the message was terror. The commander who had first seen the awakening now stood before his people. His armor was burned, his body weak, but his voice was strong. "I saw it," he told them. "I heard its words. The humans live on in this ship, and if they speak once more, we must listen." Still, doubt spread like poison. Some leaders told their people the warship was a trick, an illusion built by rivals. Others claimed it was only one machine, and machines could be destroyed, but no one could deny the truth. The Iron Requiem was real. Its voice was real. and its message carried the weight of a species that had once stood against the galaxy itself. The warship fired no weapons. It destroyed no cities. Yet its presence was more powerful than any bombardment. Its silence after the message was worse than thunder. Because the galaxy understood, this was only the beginning. In orbit, the ship's systems scanned the stars. It was searching, looking for signals, for coordinates, for echoes of the species that had built it. Somewhere in the darkness, it believed humanity still waited, and it would find them. The warship shifted, engines roaring like a storm. Its hull glowed brighter, casting a blue shadow across the planet below. For the aliens who watched from the surface, it was as if a god had risen. Some knelt, some screamed, some fled. Then the ship spoke one last time before vanishing into hyperspace. To those who remember humanity, we are not gone. To those who forget, remember us now. The stars belong to no empire. The stars belong to all who are strong enough to defend them. And humanity will always defend. The words struck deeper than any blade. The galaxy was forced to remember. When the ship leapt into hyperspace, it left silence behind. A silence heavier than war. A silence filled with fear, hope, and the echo of a promise that could not be ignored. In the days that followed, no one slept easily. Soldiers watched the skies with shaking hands. Admirals whispered of strategies, but dared not move. Even the strongest empires admitted, at least in secret, that they were powerless. For what weapon could match the will of humanity? What fleet could fight against a species that built warships to outlive time itself? The galaxy did not know where the Iron Requiem had gone. Some said it was searching for survivors. Some said it was awakening others of its kind. Some believed it was traveling to the core, to send its message farther. But everyone agreed on one thing: the humans were no longer a memory. They were a shadow rising once again. And if the galaxy forgot why it once feared them, it was about to be reminded. The galaxy will never forget. The Iron Requiem vanished into hyperspace, leaving the galaxy with only silence and fear. But silence is never empty. Across the stars, its message still echoed. It was replayed in council chambers, whispered in marketplaces, and carried on the breath of soldiers who had once believed the humans were myths. No empire could erase what had happened. No leader could deny the truth. The humans were not gone. Their ship had spoken, and its words had been clear. Humanity remembers. For some, that memory was a curse. The Zeraki Dominion ordered their fleets to double in size. Factories ran day and night, forging weapons they hoped might match the power of the warship. Yet even their admirals admitted in secret, no weapon, no fleet, no strategy could ever undo the fear in their soldiers' eyes. Every man and woman in their ranks now fought under a shadow, the shadow of humanity's return. For others, the message was hope. On the broken worlds of the Olan, children lit fires in the streets and sang old songs of human friendship. Their elders told them stories of when humans had fought beside them, when no other race had cared. The humans have not forgotten us, they said. They will come back. Hope and fear, two faces of the same truth. But for everyone, the legend was alive again. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed the Iron Requiem was not alone, that hundreds of ships slept under oceans, deserts, and ice, waiting for the same awakening. Others swore they had seen signals in deep space, strange human codes hidden inside the static. Even pirates spoke of human ghosts that haunted their routes. Fleets swore they saw strange ships vanish into the dark, too fast, too silent, too familiar to be anything but human. The galaxy no longer laughed at such tales. In the high councils of the Sindari, a bitter debate raged. One side demanded they strike first, destroy any human relics before they could rise again. The other side whispered that it was already too late. "Strike at ghosts if you wish," one councillor said coldly. "But when the humans return in flesh and blood, you will regret wasting your fire." The galaxy's rulers had always believed time was on their side. Empires rose and fell, but the humans had been gone so long that their threat felt like dust. Now that dust had become flame. and no one knew how to extinguish it. Meanwhile, the Iron Requiem traveled through the void. Its engines left trails of blue fire in the darkness as it moved from star to star. It scanned ancient human beacons, broken colonies, silent worlds that once carried human names. The ship searched, and though it found no living humans yet, it carried their spirit like a torch. It was more than a machine. It was a memory given steel and fire, and memories are dangerous. Wherever its signal reached, the galaxy was forced to remember. Remember the old battles. Remember the human fleets that refused to break. Remember the voices that swore humanity would never be slaves, never be forgotten, never be erased. The commander who had first seen the awakening became a haunted man. In his private chambers, he replayed the recordings of the ship's voice again and again. Each time he heard it, his fear grew deeper. He knew that when the galaxy finally saw the humans again, there would be no mercy. He told his council, the ship was not a relic. It was a promise. Humanity promised it would return, and now the promise is kept. The galaxy began to change. Borders tightened. Treaties were signed and broken. Empires that had hated one another now spoke of uneasy alliances, united by fear of a single name, humanity. Yet in the hearts of the oppressed, the enslaved, the forgotten, that same name was spoken with hope. The humans had been underestimated once. The galaxy believed they were weak, emotional, reckless. But those very traits, the passion, the stubbornness, the fire, were what made them powerful. The Iron Requiem proved it. One ship had risen. One voice had spoken. And the galaxy trembled. Now no one asked if the humans would return. The question had changed. They asked only when. And so the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. Every council, every fleet, every colony, from the richest empires to the poorest worlds, they all carried the same thought in silence. The humans are coming back, and the galaxy will never forget.